Welcome back. Well, today marks World Autism Day, and this year's theme is inclusion in the workplace, challenges and opportunities in a post-pandemic world. The day aims to raise awareness about the rights of people living with autism and to shun stigma and discrimination. For more on this, I am joined by Lisa Aziz from Action in Autism. Good morning to you, Lisa. Thank you for your time. Autism is one illness that is quite complicated. For anyone who doesn't have enough information about it, can you just explain what it is and how you identify autism?
Thank you. Just to correct you right at the outset, it is not an illness. It's a lifelong condition. It's a neurodevelopmental condition, which means it impacts the brain and specifically areas of communication and social communication. So our people with autism, autistic people, really struggle with communication and understanding the code for communication. And I think that is the most important aspect, the most important disability, is unable to understand the social cues that you and I automatically get when we are in a social situation. So us talking together, we understand it's a turn-taking process. I talk, you listen, you talk, I listen. And that 95% of everything we say is gestures and nonverbal communication. So our people really, really struggle with that. And the other thing that they struggle with is wanting sameness and routine and predictability. And why do they want sameness and routine and predictability? Is because it makes the world a safe place for them. The world can be entirely very chaotic. And the other very important aspect that has been added into the diagnostic statistical manual is they feel their senses very strongly. So they have a different type of sensory processing. So sounds, lights, touch can all be felt very differently from us. And so places can become extremely overwhelming for our people with autism. But the difference in communication and social interaction is the most important disability of autism.
Lisa, how common and how prevalent is autism, and when is it particularly identified in a person?
In South Africa, we're getting better. There are more diagnosticians, more pediatric neurologists and trans-professional teams that can actually diagnose autism. So that's getting better. Our diagnostic criteria is getting better, and we are able now to diagnose round about 3 to 4 years old. Prior to that, it was really, really difficult. Actually, in autism still host 3 diagnostic and assessment clinics. We get the wonderful service of our pediatric neurologists who give us their time free of charge, or pediatric psychiatrists, and they come and we diagnose people that come in. And then it is really sad, because from the deep rural areas, schools would send busloads of children for diagnosis. We're seeing more at 6 and 7 years old, when the signs for autism are so very, very clear. But I have to say that we are getting better in South Africa. And I also have to say that we work strongly from a social human rights paradigm, that we look at people with autism having their rights, their human rights honored and respected. And with the theme that we have, inclusion in the workplace, I have to say, in South Africa, we haven't done very well. I mean, across the world, there are very few people with autism that are actually being employed, but more so here in Africa and in South Africa particularly, we find very, very few people, and they that have been included in the open labor markets. And so we're hoping to change that, through measures and using government's initiatives to actually ensure that our people with autism are actually employed in the workplace.
And the human rights aspect of it is quite important, Lisa, because it is important to get rid of certain stigmas and also to make people aware that a person with autism can live a full life.
Absolutely, and that there is so much of misunderstanding. More than 50% of our people with autism are non-speaking, and so when they don't have a means, access to a reliable means of communication, they cannot tell us what they're thinking, to have agency in the world, to contribute to the world, and that can be very isolating and stigmatizing, because suddenly when people feel you don't have a voice, then you don't have intelligence and you have no choice. So what we are asking our people and our community and our parents and government to acknowledge is that if we give our people with autism an alternative means of communication through AAC, through my son does not speak, he's 21 years old, but he uses an iPad with a software program, and he's able to type out exactly how to communicate and what he's feeling, and it shows an incredibly profound mind. So I think that learning from autistics is the most important thing that us as a community can do. Learning from adults speaking autistics and non-speaking autistics. There's a new film that's coming out, The Reason I Jump, which is based on the life of Naoki Higashido, and he's completely non-speaking, but he has the most incredible, profound thoughts, and through his insight, we can learn so much more about the world. And there are a number of these people. There are many great people with autism who have changed the thinking in the world. Albert Einstein is reputed to be on the spectrum. There's no confirmed diagnosis, but he has brought great insight into the world. So we want to say to the world at large, to South Africans, that do not equate functionality, that the person is able to do this and this and this with intelligence. If you look at Stephen Hawking as an example, he could only communicate via his irises of his eyes, and yet he was one of the greatest thinkers of the 21st century.
All right, thank you very much. We'll leave it there. That was Lisa Aziz from Action in Autism.